All right, guys. We have gotten some huge news today in terms of just some positive development for Florida State. I was actually looking through the FSU depth chart, and I did notice something pretty interesting. You had guys like Dylan Gibbons and Jazz Turntine and Caden Lyles and guys like that you thought were probably going to be exceeding their eligibility. But one interesting name that I saw on that list that on the official depth chart that I thought was pretty interesting was D'Mitri Emmanuel. This is a redshirt senior guard that I thought was pretty much done for in terms of eligibility. And there was no Dylan Gibbons, no Jazz, no none of that. It was just Emmanuel that was listed on that depth chart. And I thought that was pretty interesting in terms of just what it means for Florida State if they were able to get him back. What were kind of your thoughts on that when you saw that, Jay?
Man, I was like you, man. I was scratching my head,
I
scratching my face. Man, I was trying to figure out. Man, what's really going on. And to be told, man, I really think I think me personally, I think he'll be able to come back, man. My hopes is up, man. I feel it, man. It feel good, man. I think he's gonna be able to come back.
Man, I think it's kind of weird because when you look through it, it couldn't be a mistake because he's the only guy that's left. And we were hearing some rumblings that there was a waiver potential. He was going to fill out for the waiver and hopefully get another year of eligibility, and that would be massive for Florida State. They added a couple of guys here. You look at some of the guys they had. Casey Roddick, who's probably going to be a guard at this point. Keandre Jones from Auburn is going to be another one that they like at guard. You had Jeremiah Byers, who I thought was pretty interesting. I thought that with some of the guards you had leaving with Gibbons and Emmanuel, I thought you probably had to slide him into guard, but now you can play him at his regular tackle spot. So,
Mm-hmm.
you're not having to rush a Bless Harris that was injured last year. You don't have to rush in Julian Armella that's got a little bit more development, trying to figure out what he is as a person and a player. And you're setting up pretty good in terms of that. That's not even including the Lucas Simmons that you added that maybe could stretch. You never know. And then Christopher Otto is another one. You got some guys there in that offensive line room, and that's not even including the all old reliable Darius Washington that nobody ever talks about. He can play
Right.
tackle, he can play guard, he can play center.
Yep.
There's just a lot of pieces there that you're really, really liking for Florida State. And last year, you saw maybe about 7 or 6 offensive linemen that were probably pushing to be starters. And then past that, you were kind of worried. You saw Maurice Smith get hurt earlier in the season. You saw Robert Scott get hurt. And of course, you saw Bless Harris and Caden Lyles get hurt in the preseason. And you saw your depth basically just crumble. But this year, man, Alex Atkins said, "No, we're not having that this year. We're going to go ahead and settle up for the offensive line." How big do you think this is in terms of getting an Emmanuel potentially back? Now, I've reached out to him. We're going to try to get out some more further feedback on if he did indeed get a waiver and is going to be back for the 2023 season. But what were kind of your thoughts on that? How big do you think that would be in terms of getting that offensive line for Alex Atkins?
Man, I think that'll be huge, man. Just to have that leadership,
Yeah,
that veteran experience,
yeah,
man. You know what I'm saying? And he done, I'm gonna be honest, man. He was pretty good last year.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He was pretty good last year. So I think having him there to provide that, like that leadership, show the younger guys the way. Man, I think that'd be huge for Coach At, man, and the rest of the offensive line. So hopefully he come back, man.
Well, he is listed at 6'2", 300 pounds. A little bit on the shorter side in terms of guards. You usually see him at about 6'4", 6'5". At that point,
Yeah.
it's a little bit smaller, but he has had experience playing with Alex Atkins. And we talked about this on previous shows and everything like that. Alex Atkins gets the most out of his players. It may not be the best potential that he is getting, but he is trying to make the most out of nothing at this point. And I do think there are some talented pieces in the room. Don't get me wrong, but I think that with some of these players on the roster, it shouldn't be this good. You shouldn't be allowing 12 sacks in 13 games at this point. It should be
Right.
you should see a little bit more drop off in production, especially with some of the guys you've lost. But man, when you're looking at this and you're looking at a Jordan Travis Heisman, potential hype there, how do you think that makes him feel? With having that guy potentially coming back into the fold next season.
I think it made Jordan. I think it made Jordan feel good, man.
Yeah.
Hey, it'll make me feel good if I was a quarterback to have just that leadership on the offensive line. The guys that done did it before. They know
Mhm.
they had that chemistry. They know, what I'm saying. They know where to go,
Yeah.
and they know what coach at expect for
Hmm.
them. So it's one of those things, man. It's just like I got my guys with me. I feel comfortable. I'm good. So yeah, I think he feel good, bro.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest concerns with Jordan Travis coming back next season. I really didn't know if if it was a possibility for him to return because I mean you are losing your top two guards, you were losing a tackle, you were losing, Caden Lyles and everything. You didn't really have a
Hmm.
whole lot of depth. And you saw what happened when that offensive line got a little bit beat up. You got kind of nervous about the depth, and that was a problem. And you saw some of these younger freshmen that you had from previous classes, and they're trying to develop and get better. But you even got guys like Quayshawn Sapp and Jalen Early and guys like that are still trying to develop properly. And I just think that you're having to get a timetable for some of those guys. And maybe if you have some of these veterans coming back, man, that would be really scary with
I'm
everything.
telling you.
And I
I'm telling
mean,
you, man.
Coach Atkins, I mean, he's not afraid to tell you what you're doing wrong at all. We know this from experience. Every recruit that has come through that building, he's like, man, he told my mama I suck. And I mean, that's just the reality of it, man. That he
Right.
doesn't sugarcoat anything. And I think that's very important for some of these kids to understand. It's like you're going to come to Florida State and you're going to work. And I mean, it's
That's
not
it.
about like a Julian Armella, for example. He was a 5-star on Rivals. He came in and Coach Atkins was like, man, your technique sucks, man. We need to get that better. We need to understand, just for example,
Hmm.
there's guys that need to work on some stuff. And I think he understands and says, okay, here's where we need to go with this. And here's where we need to get in the future to get where we want to be. And I mean, he's not going to sugarcoat it for you. He understands there's a long way to go in terms of getting us where we want to be. But man, having Emmanuel back for 2023 potentially, that would be massive in terms of
Hey,
just everything.
I'm telling you, man. You said some good stuff, man. I think with Coach Atkins, man, like he don't like you say, man. He don't tell you what you want to hear. He gonna tell you what you really need to hear. To be honest, you know what I'm saying? I think, and I honestly, I think that's why our culture is so good, man,
Mm-hmm.
because it's built off of honesty. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Yep.
It's nothing, it's not that that logic's going around. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You've been told the truth from jump, so you know what it is from day one when you first come in. Not everybody, everybody clicking because we already know what it is. So yeah, man, hey, Coach Atkins, shout out to Coach Atkins, man. He's the real deal.
Oh yeah, for real. He has definitely been a bright spot. And I know a lot of people are questioning his elevation to offense coordinator. They said, oh, well, an offensive line coach should never be this way and he will never call plays and stuff like that. It's a lot more that goes into it instead of that. Offensive line coaches have a lot of varying factors, and being an offensive line coach takes a lot of energy. So I mean,
Right.
you adding on to that to the offensive coordinator spot, I think can really be big, and I think he's going to blossom into that role eventually. And everybody talks about, well, we can't let Alex Atkins leave, and he's one of our best recruiters and different things like that. But Florida State will be just fine. I promise you, Alex Atkins will be just fine as well. I know he's going to want his opportunity in the future, and I definitely wish him nothing but the best if he does decide to go that route sooner rather than later. But yeah, Alex Atkins has done a great job in terms of this offensive line and everything, and I'm really appreciative of him being at Florida State for sure.
Definitely, man.
But yeah, man, this is with me, Jay, and he's from Nolehighlights over there on Instagram and Twitter as well. If y'all don't mind, go give him a follow. I'll make sure to link both of his social media platforms into the bio as well, so that way y'all can go check that out and everything. Has some elite tweets for everybody to go check out. So I definitely got to go check that out. They're pretty good. They have a lot of thoughts into them, and it brings a lot about reactions and everything too. So, but yeah, man. But I appreciate you coming on today, and as always, go Knowles.
Go knows. Appreciate you, bro, for having me on, man.
Of course, man. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. You too, bro.